Hello. Hi guys, so today I'm gonna be doing a what I've been reading lately video. I've been wanting to do a video like this, and I think I tried to film one like in June and do like a mid-year recap of what I've read so far. The issue with that is I can talk forever about them and it was just too much, so instead I picked just a few to talk about. Let's see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 actually 8 to talk about, and these are like my favorite ones that I've read recently. So yeah, also I've read 62 books so far this year. My official goal on Goodreads is 80. However, my real goal is 100 because I think that'd be so cool, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. Anyway, let's just get into it. And yeah, so I'm gonna start with The Great Gatsby. So, background to why I decided to read this. So I have previously read This Side of Paradise and Tender as the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which is weird that I read those but never this. And like, I've obviously seen the movie and like I know what it's about and stuff, but I never actually read the book. So I actually started reading it on my computer, like through Libby, because I was on a bus and it was dark, and so there like was no light to read like an actual book, so I was like, let me just read something like on my computer. And I started reading it, and like obviously like I feel like this is a book that's like, this is one of the best books ever, like it's a known like good book. But I started reading it and I was like, this is insane, like this is so good. Like I was like, I don't want to be reading this on my computer. So I actually didn't even order it, but I was at this like summer festival thing and there was a used book sale and this was here and it was only $1, so, and that was like a week later. So yeah, I like physical books better in general, but another reason I wanted it in physical form was because I like to mark certain books I read. Almost all of the ones I'm going to talk about today are marked, but basically I have a Kindle, and so I read some ebooks, but I prefer to read like fantasy, thriller, romance, like those types of books on Kindle. Not to say like, so I more so like to mark like classics, literary fiction. Not to say like these types of books are necessarily like better than other ones, so I think it's dumb to like silo books in that way and like what you read. However, to me, I find that like more like fast-paced, like thriller, fantasy, whatever, are more about like the characters and the plot and just like being entertaining, whereas these are more about the actual words on the page. And that's why I tend to like to mark like certain sentences or like paragraphs or whatever. So that's my explanation for that. But anyway, okay, so yeah, I don't even know what else to say about this, but really enjoyed it. I really like his writing. Yeah, and I'm actually seeing the Broadway show of this next weekend, so that'll be fun. Next, another F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is The Beautiful and the Damned. I really, really liked this one. Sometimes like classics that are like also long are intimidating to me because you kind of have to commit to it because it takes obviously a bit longer to read. But this was so good. Trying to think of what to say about it. I mean, his books are just like so depressing and so bleak, but yeah, I really, really like these characters. And also, isn't this so pretty? Next, 2 Joan Didion books. So at this point now, I've read kind of quite a few of her books. I think the White Album and Let Me Tell You What I Mean, and then Slouching Towards Bethlehem. This is definitely my favorite of her essay collections that I've read so far. The reason that I got this specifically was because of one specific like essay story. So it's actually the last one, fittingly enough. Goodbye to all that. So I saw a quote from this on Twitter, and then I looked up this story and I read it by itself, but then I was like, I want to read this whole collection. It's about, she's talking about New York, and it's about her ultimately moving out of New York. But it's focused a lot on when she was young and first moved here. And I don't know, it was just like very relatable to me. Yeah, I don't know, I'm trying to think if I should like, oh, this is like, okay, I'll read this part. Okay, I think this is the quote that made me want to read this. Okay, that was the year, my 28th, when I was discovering that not all of the promises would be kept, that some things are in fact irrevocable, and that it had counted after all. Every evasion and every procrastination, every mistake, every word, all of it. So, yeah, I don't know. So good. Most of the, like, at least the stories in the beginning are about the 60s and 70s, and kind of like the reporting and journalism she did, and talking about that, and mostly like young people. And I found that really, really interesting. So yeah. However, this is her, I think it's her only fiction book, but this is by far like my favorite of hers, and I think at this point I would maybe go as far to say that this is my favorite book ever. So I had originally read this when I moved to New York 2 years ago, and I read like 70% of it just sitting on a bench alone in Central Park. And then I don't know, I just feel like that's like, well, I don't know why I felt the need to like lay that out, but like that's kind of, it kind of brings me back to that whenever I do think of this book. But it's deceptively short because there's a lot of like white space in some of the chapters, or like a paragraph. So yeah, I read it again like a month ago when I was on a train. I think so. It's very, very sad. And when I first read it 2 years ago, like I came away from it and I was just like, I really liked this. This was just so sad. like I think my Goodreads review is like, I'm sad now. Like it just was sad reading it again recently. Like after I read the last page, I was like, I felt like I had some sort of like epiphany, like of my whole like mindset. I don't even know, this sounds so dramatic, but like I think that the end of this book is actually one of the most like hopeful, like inspiring things, which is interesting because like the rest of it, like it still is extremely sad, but I think that the way that it ends is I guess I'll actually, no, I'm not gonna read that because I don't want to spoil it, but just trust. It's just it's too good, like so good. Definitely recommend this one, and again, it's like a very quick read. Yeah, potentially favorite book, although I would say Station 11 is like up there as well. So yeah, Station 11, Emily St. John Mandel. Highly recommend that one and all of her books. She's like probably my favorite writer. But anyway, that's not in this video, so I need to like stay focused. Okay, next. So this is A Streetcar Named Desire, and I usually don't like, I don't really read plays. I think I read Hamlet a few years ago just to like, I don't know, but literally besides that, and maybe I've read some for school, like in high school, but besides that I haven't. So I don't know, I was just like, let me read this, and I loved it so much. This is another one that I read in one sitting. I don't know, I think plays are like so intimidating, but this one was like really just easy and enjoyable to get through, and I just really loved the main character and kind of related to her, which I don't know if I should say that, but I really like this. Now I want to watch the movie, and also I got 2 more of his plays, so excited to read more. Also love this cover. Okay, I'm actually like not being crazy long with my rambling about them, but I have 3 left. Okay, this book right here. Okay, background. I read this when I was in high school, like when I was like 17, I would say, and I coined it as like, this is my favorite book. And ever since then, I've always like, when this book comes up or when I think of it, I'm like, oh, like that's like one of my favorite books. But lately I've been like, is it? Like, I don't even remember. I read this so long ago, and I was like, was I just being like an annoying 17-year-old, and I thought that like this Ernest Hemingway book was cool to be my favorite book, and also because I am obsessed with the title, and I was like, I need to like read it being older, because I think it's crazy how different of an experience you can have reading a book even just like a year apart, but this has been like several years. And so I was like, let me like reevaluate this, because also one of my close friends read it and was like, I hated it, and I was like, let me, and honestly it doesn't even have like the best reviews on Goodreads, but anyway, I read it and I really like it. I wouldn't go as far to say that it's like my favorite book, but I did give it 5 stars and I do really like it. I think that his writing, him and Fitzgerald were kind of like the same time. I guess he wrote like about a little earlier, or I'm just wrong, but I think this was, or I guess it was really about the same. Anyway, but like comparing them, like his writing is way more like to the point, concise, and very, very dialogue heavy, which I like the dialogue heavy, at least in this one. Like it almost reads like a screenplay more, and I think that's cool. Basically, the entire book is about our main character and him with like more or less the same group of friends going from Paris and then going to Spain for the bullfights, and just basically drinking at different like cafes and restaurants and meeting new people and people leaving. And I don't know, I just really love it. There's so many parts that I just think it's, I just really, really like this. What was I gonna say? I think that, so this also, my sister read For Whom the Bell Tolls, I think, and she was like, the way he wrote is like he has never spoken to a woman in his life. Like she didn't like the way that he wrote female characters, I guess. So that kind of made me think this book like literally barely has female characters in it. There is one female character who actually like is central to a lot of it, but the character like herself is very much like not expanded on at all. But to me, I think that in the context of this book, it actually makes sense because she's kind of this enigma, this like shapeless person, and like I think that it not, and like I just think for this that makes sense, and I kind of like that she's more of a mystery. I don't know, maybe that's a bad take, but I also found that with Fitzgerald, I actually think writes compelling female characters, especially in The Beautiful and the Damned. The Beautiful and Damned. I keep like saying the title wrong. So yeah, I think he writes very compelling female characters, but sometimes like just the way he talks about like women is kind of like but anyway, I don't even know how that got brought up, but this also has like my favorite look, let me make sure it is like the actual end. I think it is. Yeah, this is like my favorite like last sentence of a book. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna read it because I think it's so good. But if you don't want to be spoiled, like, just, you've been warned. Okay, it's like the last, okay, like 3 sentences. Oh Jake, Brett said, and Brett is like that one female character that I was talking about. Oh Jake, Brett said, we could have had such a damned good life, or such a damned good time together. Ahead was a mounted policeman in khaki directing traffic. He raised his baton. The car slowed suddenly, pressing Brett against me. Yes, I said, isn't it pretty to think so? Such a good ending. I think that's so good. But anyway, yeah, this is actually the only Hemingway book I've read though. I think so. I do want to read more. So yeah, okay. It is actually kind of like unbelievable that I had never read this before this summer, because it's like such a book that I would read. And also reading this, it's so easy to see how much it influenced like Otessa Moshfegh's books like My Year of Rest and Relaxation and Eileen, and just that kind of like like sad, depressed girl literary genre. And I'm not saying that in like in a bad way, because like I'm here for it, but she is the queen of it. There she was, but yeah, loved this. I already want to reread it. I think that one of the reasons that like I loved it so much is that at least in the beginning she's in or the character is in New York City for the summer, and I think that so many books about New York kind of, it's just like you take it for granted, like it's just like New York, and it's, you know, romanticized in this place, this magical place, whereas this, I feel like she's so indifferent towards it and like sometimes even like negative towards it, and I think that that is kind of a refreshing take to see, and also kind of, you know, echoes some of what I've been feeling about the city, and so that was, I like that. Yeah, it's just so good and relatable and well written, obviously. Let me see if I should have like picked parts to read out of each of them, but I didn't do that. I also like try to match these to like the colors of the book. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but sometimes I do a better job than others. But yeah, I really liked that book. And I feel like I'm showing all these like classics and like I guess more well-known books, but I've also been just reading so much random stuff too. Like I started this fantasy series called Red Rising, adult fantasy dystopian series. I think it's a trilogy, but I've read the first two and I just ordered the third, and I've really been liking that. I always am reading just like random thrillers. Yeah, that's kind of like my main genres. I don't really like contemporary fiction or romance that much. I read like more like romance earlier in the year, but I kept like I'd keep reading them and I'd be like, I don't like this, and then I would like read a different one that like is very popular or whatever, and I'm like, why am I reading these? However, the one exception, or the two exceptions to that for like the romance genre, are Emily Henry and Ali Hazelwood. I really like all of their books, and I really loved Emily Henry's most recent book, Funny Story. So yeah, but I tried reading like what was it called? It was like a small town like cowboy romance. What was it called? It was like Fearless or Powerless or whatever, like that series. I started the first one. I did not like that. However, I did like Done and Dusted. That was like one of my first reads of the year, I think. But anyway, like, what am I even talking about right now? But yeah. Okay, final one, and it's actually a poetry book. Okay. So I have one mark because I'm gonna read one, but really loved this. I don't remember, I saw it somewhere like online and I was like, okay, getting that. I loved this. Obviously, like from the title, it's very like nature grounded, and yeah, I'm just gonna read one because I don't even know how to like describe the poetry. Okay. You want to know how I spend my time. I walk the front lawn, pretending to be weeding. You ought to know I'm never weeding, on my knees, pulling clumps of clover from the flower beds. In fact, I'm looking for courage, for some evidence my life will change, though it takes forever, checking each clump for the symbolic leaf, and soon the summer is ending, already the leaves turning, always the sick trees going first, the dying turning brilliant yellow, while a few dark birds perform their curfew of music. You want to see my hands, as empty now as the first note, or was the point always to continue without a sign? So, yeah. Oh, I just messed it up. Big fan of that. Okay, so yeah, that was, I don't even know. I feel like I said so much, but also nothing at all. But if you guys want another one of these, let me know, because I can talk about more that I read earlier in the year. Yeah, I also just kind of want to post more in general. I kind of want to do a hand movements video, and yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys want. But yeah, hope I reach either one of my goals. I definitely will reach the 80 goal, because I'm like unable to not reach the goal I set on Goodreads, or like I will go insane. So like I'm just gonna have to do that. But a 100 would be cool. However, it's been kind of easy reading because I haven't had like a show that I've been hooked on. But yesterday I started Industry, and I'm so obsessed. I'm almost done with season 1. The seasons are only 8 episodes, but like, yeah, now I'm kind of like, well, when I have free time, I'm like watching that, which is bad. But there's only 2 full seasons out, and the 3rd season is like premiering now, so I should be like done with it soon. And I feel like fall is such a good season for reading, because like reading outside is so nice because it's not too hot out. And there's certain books that I like to reread like every fall, so those will get put in the rotation. But yeah, so I hope you guys like this video. It's still almost 30 minutes even. Yeah, so good thing. See, that's why I can't do more than this amount. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.